Hey everyone, this is Rachel Mooney.
This is Cindy.
This is Maggie.
And this is Andrea, and you're listening to Real Her Talk, Houses, Heels, and Real Estate Deals.
I'm really excited about doing this, and I figured we could all introduce ourselves, but we all have very different perspectives on real estate, building wealth, investing, doing all kinds of different stuff. And there's so many women out there that don't have access to the same level of training and opportunity that we've been exposed to. And I thought this would be a great platform for us to share the things we've learned. And since this is episode 1, I figure this is a good time to introduce ourselves. So we'll start at this end. So introduce yourself.
Okay. So I'm Rachel Mooney. I've been in real estate since 1999. I got into the business, I lived with my parents at the time, so I knew nothing about buying a house. And my first fiance at the time, he was a courier for a law firm. And he said, you ought to go to real estate school, because I was in school for business, kind of trying to figure out my way. And I was like, well, why would I want to do that? I don't even know anything about buying or selling a house. And he was like, you should just go and try it out. So I did the 3-month part-time program, and so got my real estate license. That was in 1999. And then fast forward today, almost 25 years later, I have made a career out of it. I have raised my 2 girls selling real estate, with Olivia being here now. I remember when she was a toddler, a baby in a carrier going with me on my first listing appointment, and she was in that carrier, but she literally went with me everywhere. And then I had baby number 2. Baby number 2 went with me everywhere. I tried to stay home and be a full-time mom, and my husband said, you need to go back to work, and you need to be who you are and be in front of people and with people instead of being at home. So I quickly found a nanny for them and got back into real estate pretty much full on from there. But I have a team that is here at Keller Williams, and we're a number 2 team under Maggie, which might be different now. Number 3 or 4, I don't even know. But so that has been fun. But this year I incorporated coaching as well, so I'm a MAPS coach with MAPS. And that has been fun. I've got 9 clients across the U.S. that I'm coaching now at the same time of doing sales. So yeah, that's kind of the long and short of it.
And that's a huge perspective. That's why when I said everybody here has such a different perspective, is being in that MAPS role, you have access to training, stats, all kinds of stuff that I'm like, that's so cool, because you'll send me stuff and be like, oh, that's awesome. Yeah, because I wouldn't have it otherwise. And then I'm like, hey guys, look what Rachel sent me. But so you have even different insight than the rest of us have access to.
Yeah. It's been fun. It's been a learning lesson. It's interesting to see agents' perspectives. And we think that what we're dealing with here locally is just what we have locally. It's kind of fun to see that it's across the United States, and everybody has certain issues and objections in their businesses that we have here that they think is just a standard for where they're living too. So it's kind of cool. Yeah, it's fun to get to know people that way.
That's really cool.
Yeah.
All right, Cindy.
All right. Well, I come from Southern Indiana. I'm a farm girl. Went to Indiana University. Everybody will know my age, so so I graduated in 1976 from Indiana University, and I too had a practice fiance for a while.
And I like that.
That's a great term.
And he's a very successful doctor, and he's great. Just was, when you marry a doctor, you have to plan on being alone a lot. And I'm a very social animal, and I woke up going, oh, this is not going to work. So my first job was with the Indiana Department of Revenue. I was a tax examiner at that time. I ended up, that was a pretty long career until my husband got transferred here to Atlanta. And I was the liaison to the governor and the legislative branch for the Revenue Department. So my job was to read every bill that said anything about tax or money.
Fun.
Boring.
I was like, wow, that sounds
And I met my husband at work. He was actually my first boss. And then we moved to Atlanta, and I had to figure out what I was going to do because, as you can imagine, there's not many jobs, only 2 in Georgia, for an Indiana Department of Revenue employee. And you say, what 2?
Yeah.
The ones that go around looking for sales tax and or withholding tax.
That's
Who knew?
I didn't know that.
So I ended up at the CDC Federal Credit Union, and that's where I got my first taste of mortgages because they actually had a mortgage company. And then I got transferred to, a lot of people will know, Home Bank. So I transitioned to Home Bank, and that was a really very unique, at that time, mortgage company, and stayed there just at the right amount of time because things didn't go well for Home Bank, and I became then a junior loan officer to a really good agent, or actually mortgage person, and we're still friends. And then I started doing mortgages on my own, so I really have started in this industry in 1990, which is funny because that's my second career. You can do the math.
Yeah.
And I really enjoy it. And I now work for North Point Mortgage, and I work with a lot of my friends. All came to work for a new company, not a bank, and it's been very successful, and it makes me happy to be over there. I like working with friends.
Yeah.
That's the way it is.
Yeah.
So.
That makes work fun.
And personally, I've been married 46 years, so that my non-practice fiance/husband seems to work really well.
Yes.
And I have 2 grown children, both of them very successful, and a 4.5-year-old grandson.
Oh,
So,
that's awesome.
Van, Thomas Van.
Aw.
That's a cute name.
That is a cute name.
Yeah. So it's family names mixed together. Yes.
So my parents always said that they wish they had grandchildren first, and they could do without the children part. You like the grandchild better than the children?
I love my grandson. I like my children.
Yeah.
I love my grandson.
See?
But I have found, because I was raised in a farming community with really strict rules and love of animals and hard work. That's what I was taught. It's great. It was great being raised on a farm. I do wish the parents of my grandson would not be quite so eager to just give him anything he wants.
Yeah.
I will tell you a story and then I will move on. So my grandson just graduated from preschool, and he got an award for math, and everybody else got awards for being pretty or funny or nice or whatever. So he got a Switch,
A Nintendo
Switch,
Yeah.
a Nintendo Switch as his preschool graduation.
Oh, wow. Yeah.
You were
See,
like,
and I'm not fluent in any kind of gaming system, but I do know that a few years ago it was amazingly expensive because I had friends buying them. And I go, well, if he gets that for preschool, good Lord, what's going to happen?
Yeah, what's going next?
where are you going?
Yeah. Sounds Liz Iser. Yeah, so Katie barred the door. That's what I'm just saying.
Yes.
But yes, I love them all.
Yes.
Yeah. And my new puppy.
Yes.
I have a new puppy.
Winston.
Winston
Oh.
is a French bulldog.
Oh,
He's 6
cute.
months
Oh
old.
my God, have I seen him?
Little white.
Yes.
So cute.
Summers.
Yes.
Dog's brother.
Yeah.
Yes. So
Yeah.
cute.
I know.
Yeah, he's
Yeah.
adorable.
He is.
I'm going to keep him.
That's fair. Everybody else, yeah.
Yeah.
Yes.
So I'm Andrea. I always jokingly but seriously say I've been doing this my whole life. I don't know how to do anything else. This is it. Rachel and I say the same thing because I've been licensed since 2000, but I followed my parents into the business. And so started in doing new construction, and then, the recession hit. And so we had to pivot, and then had the opportunity to learn all about short sales and foreclosures and all the things that we did not want to learn about, and hopefully we'll never have to cope with at that level ever again, which we won't. But so pivoted in that direction, and then when the market started coming back, I started working with some of the developers who were getting back into the business again and putting their toe back in. So I was doing land assemblage and helping put together neighborhoods, and then trying to get paid 3 times on the same piece of land. I felt like that was a little bit more efficient than doing it one at a time. And so I reached kind of like where I couldn't breathe anymore. And I had chosen a brokerage based on from my front door to their front door, because I didn't think that it mattered who I was in business with, because I knew that real estate is whatever I make it, right? I got to go work it. And then I hit a ceiling, and I couldn't figure out how to do any more than I'm doing. So I talked one of my really good friends into getting her license. She's still with me, Corinne. And that was more than a decade ago. And I was like, hey, you're going to get into real estate. It's going to be fantastic. And she's like, oh, no, I don't want to. And I was like, that's nice. It'll be fine. It's going to be fantastic. It's not a problem. We're going to have a blast. And I was like, here's all the things, the buyers, open houses, everything. It's kick up. I don't ever want to do those. And she was like, okay, great. And then I kept looking for like, how do you grow that side of the business, because I had no experience doing it. I had the experience in new construction and land and commercial stuff, but not that. And so I started looking around for help, because my broker at the time, I'll never forget this, handed me a John Maxwell book and told me I was focusing on the numbers too much. And I was like, oh, no, that's helpful. And that's not, I mean, sure, yeah, leadership book, great, love it. Actually still have lots of John's books, but I needed business help. And so that's when I started looking around for who actually teaches you how to grow a true residential resale business. And I looked around and I said, okay, well, everybody that's done this either started with Keller Williams, is at Keller Williams, like there's a theme. So I should go talk to them. And then I got tricked into running a franchise. And so that was 9 years ago that I became we call them team leaders here, but it really is cool, because I remember sitting in the living room with Seth and saying to him, okay, if I could like create a job, like if there was a job where I could run the real estate business and help agents grow their businesses and consult with them, but not actually have to be the managing broker and not have to be the only one responsible for everything. I was like, it's too bad that's not a thing. Turns out it is. It is. And so that's why this has been my passion for the last 9 years, is because I truly get to be a consultant, which is different than a coach. The coach is partnering with you on the outcome, whereas I get to kind of be at the higher level and help with strategies. And that's kind of how I got into, well, we've known each other for a long time, but that's how I got to know y'all and get to be part of y'all's journey, which I just can't imagine anything better. Yeah, so that's my story. Oh, and then I have a daughter who's 21, and same thing, she used to sit on site with me in new construction in her carrier, took her freaking everywhere. She's helped out at every office that I've been in. She's assistant, do everything. She's here today. And then she started her own company doing marketing and writing and consulting for agents on that side of stuff, because that's what she grew up in, that's what she knew. She's like, I'm not getting my license, so not yet.
That's the word, yet.
I'm not doing a podcast either.
No, right? And then she's engaged and she's getting married in 33 days.
Yep.
So, Maggie?
Okay, so I'm Maggie Turno. My husband Joseph and I are both in the business. Funny, I was thinking while you were talking about your mortgage story, when I was a senior in college, I went to open a checking account, and I got hired to become a personal banker. And so I was like, they offered me basically what a starting teacher would make at the time, and I was like, oh my gosh, this is amazing. I could, completely go ahead and do this, and have a job after college. And so I was majoring in business marketing was my major, and so I started working for Bank of America, and I thought I did loans, but I didn't. I just basically took the application, didn't do all the underwriter stuff. But I loved closing them. I got to close them and do all the paperwork and things like that. And so we ended up buying a house that year as well, just through Bank of America and some things that they did. But yeah, so kind of got into, just the mortgage housing early on. I guess that was like 2000, yeah, it was in 2000. Joe and I got married, or 2001. Joe and I got married that December, and so we'll be, or 2004, sorry. 2004, because we're celebrating 20 years in December married.
Yay!
So, yeah, we've known each other since middle school.
By the way, best pictures ever. So at some point we're gonna have to bust some of those out.
I need
Maybe
to.
so.
We should.
Well, the high school ones are funny because he's got the big sideburns,
And the blonde tips.
and the blonde tips,
Yeah.
and hair, because he's bald now, so and so, but yes, and so we knew each other, and we kind of, were in school together, but became really good friends in high school. Started dating our senior year, and so I went to college, and we got married in 2004, and then I had a baby in 2007, and so after I had Josiah, I battled with some postpartum, things like that. I'd already kind of had some anxiety stuff going on prior to that. And I basically just couldn't get myself to work. And so, as far as in a car, so I struggled to drive. That's where the anxiety would hit. And Joe, at the time, when we got married, 3 or almost 4 years prior to that, he went to the police academy. So he was to be a police officer. And so he worked nights, and it was just a struggle, a huge struggle. And finally he had said, just quit work. It was a lot, and mommy brain is true, because I went back to work and I was really good at my work. I got my bonuses, I always reached my goals, and then I had a baby, and then I felt like I couldn't do anything. Had trouble remembering, it's just crazy. Anyways, another story for another day. So ended up staying at home. Then Joe just, with the police salary, you can't really, it's hard to survive, and so he worked tons of jobs just to keep me at home with the kids. And one of those was a locksmith business that his dad ran. It was a family business, and so he would work with his dad and do some part-time jobs through the police department. And so that's kind of how he lived for a couple of years until his dad passed away. His dad passed away, I think it was in 09 or 010. Yeah, 09 or 10, 2010. And after he passed, Joe decided kind of several months after that he wanted to keep the business or do something with the business. And so he started his own locksmith business. He's like, I think I want to do that. And it got to the point where he couldn't do both. He couldn't police and do the locksmith business. And so I went back to work to get insurance. Turned into a long story. Anyways, so he did that. I got pregnant and on bed rest. With baby number 3, surprise, and daycare was very expensive. So after I had Mackenzie, we decided to bring me back home and completely trust that the locksmith business would provide, and thank God it did. And so he got to the point where he was basically just answering calls, and he had service guys, like my brother at one point, one of our really good friends was running the service calls, and he just kind of managed it. And so he was bored, we were spending a lot of time together, and he's like, I gotta do something else. And so he had always kind of wanted to go to, he wanted to be an attorney, always wanted to go into law. And we looked at that, but having babies and going into law school, I was like, we can't do that. So next thing was like, well, I've always wanted to do real estate, why don't I get my license? It can just be something that we do, 1 or 2 closings a month would be great for us. We can go on vacation, all of that. So we're like, all right, well, let's do it. And so got his license and quickly realized he was really good at it. And so he, his 1 to 2 closings a month ended up being a lot more. And so that was almost 10 years ago. And so he joined a team, and then after that, the team was in Gainesville. We lived in Jefferson, so it's like a 35, 40 minute drive. And so that's when he met Andrea when he moved to Brazelton because it was closer to our house, and went off on his own. And first year as a single agent, got the Southeast Region Rookie of the Year award. And so I was like, man, this is something that like could potentially be big. And so he went to his first family reunion then and heard Gary Keller say you can be anywhere you want to be in 5 years. And he came home and told me that, and I was like, whatever, 5 years. But I've experienced that, and I was a little slower to get into real estate. He wanted me to get into it immediately, but I wanted to do my own thing. Him and Andrea tried to call me in, but I just wanted to make my own path. I always wanted to climb the career ladder, you know, just corporate ladder. I saw myself in a big sky rise, like when I was a little girl, like I want to be in banking and I want to work in Atlanta. No, I don't. You know, like that's what you say. You know, and that's what I thought. I want to wear suits and stiletto heels and be all, you know, chic and stuff. But I ended up staying at home with my kids, which was great, and just helping him kind of with some marketing stuff like flyers and stuff there, kind of dipping my toe. And finally in 2018-19, he was building a team, but he couldn't do it. Like it was hard by himself, bless his heart, because he was still selling. And so finally, 2000,
literally sit in my office and be like, well, when Mackie will just hurry up and get in the business, we will just be fine.
So, yeah, I finally listened in 2000, I think 18 or 19, we owned a CrossFit gym, and I used to coach there, and I loved it. I've always loved coaching, which, you know, I ended up doing my degree in psychology because I wanted to be a counselor of some sort. Which is funny because now that I coach, you know, agents, it's kind of like being a counselor. But so yeah, so got into the business, I guess full time, like 19, and then got my license 2020, and have been in it ever since. And so pretty cool. It's taken me a while to like take ownership of it because for a long time I said it's Joe's business. It's Joe's business, and he's great. He like fully supports me, and he's like, no, it's our business. Like we're thinking about it as my business. But I thought because I didn't have the track record that he had with selling, and like you guys, I didn't sell coming in. Like my path was completely different. I went straight into leadership, and I didn't want to be the wife that took over, and I felt like I had to like prove myself. And so it took a while and a lot of like turnover and things like that at the beginning, but you know, got a MAPS coach, and which helped tremendously and has helped continuously just throughout our journey. And so now I'm CEO of both of our teams. We have a team here in Swanee and then a team in Athens at the Athens Market Center. And so I run both of those. As Joe's still selling some, he's mostly out of production now, but and just focusing on our investment side of the company, just because with real estate, it brought investing and all of those things in. So,
I mean, you say that, but I do want to circle back to that because if I had known what I know now when I was 18 and got my real estate license, Rachel, where would you be?
Oh, totally different place.
Yeah, my
Totally
whole life
different.
would be different.
Yeah.
I know you look at us and go, well, yeah, but with your tenure, but yeah, you guys were at the right places to get an education that we wish we would have had so much sooner.
Yeah.
And so we're all kind of like in the same place, like with education wise, because you were getting it, like Rachel was at KW, but like I don't know, 9 years of being here, and some of you've been around a lot of real estate brokerages. I'm like, this is the equivalent of getting a master's degree in real estate, and there is no equivalent to it.
I would agree. I've never seen anything like what's available and how much support. You know, you go to a lot of brokers and it's almost competitive with each other instead of everybody looking here. And you know, Andrea and I have been some brokers where it's tough.
Fascinating.
It's it's fascinating.
Yeah, it's definitely a different culture.
It's really interesting though, because I went to Indiana University and I wanted to go to the School of Business. So I walked in and applied for the School of Business, and there's only a couple of things I know I can't do well. And in 1972, if you were a female, you were required to take typing and shorthand to get a business degree, and men were not.
Oh, jeez.
And I thought about it, I go, I cannot start my college career knowing I'm going to fail those things. So I thought about it, and I got my, I went to the arts and science, and I got my degree in economics. And then 2 years later, the federal government came in and said, you cannot do this anymore. By that time, I was going to be a junior. I didn't need the school of business then.
Yeah.
But, I mean, you guys, it's such a different lens that I see everything, and how I'm so excited about what you've done. And I was glad to meet you because with me, it's a revolution, a quiet revolution of what women can do and be at the top of their game. And
well, that's so simple. And I think what really impacted me was, I don't know if it was a family reunion or a mega camp, and the women that were interviewed, most of them had stayed at home with their children and hadn't started their careers until like their children was older, like Wendy Papazan and others that I can think of. And so it really was kind of like, this is an industry, and our brokerage shows you the way. Like, I'm reading Millionaire Real Estate Agent right now, and it says like success leaves clues, and like every person you talk to, like you listen to most of the interviews that like are done in the podcast, everybody talks about the Millionaire Real Estate Agent book. And so like the fact that like Gary and Jay and all of them wrote that book, and it's completely accessible to everybody, if you just follow those models, like that's all you gotta do.
Yeah.
And not like to a T, because some things are a little different, everybody's different, but like the fact that we're in a brokerage that gives you the tools and teaches you, and then you're open. Like, I ask people around the country, because you know, we're part of KW Wealth, which is a wealth community in Keller Williams, and so I know a lot of agents around the country, and I see they're doing something well, I'm asking them. And so you don't have to reinvent the wheel,
Right.
but also you got to be part of something that's willing to show you the wheel.
Right.
And so I'm very thankful that, you know, we are in a brokerage that not only like supports women, because I feel like Keller does,
Big
very,
time.
very big, and number two, you know, gives you everything, everything, yeah.
Yeah. No, and I will say that is like, I don't have a college degree. I don't have a degree in anything.
you have a lot of degrees, it's just
It's just the hard knocks university.
It's not
Wow.
a university.
Yeah, and I mean, but you, as long as you're learning based, I'm very passionate about having skills. I do not believe that you can not have a skill set, but I don't think that a piece of paper is going to define whether or not you're going to be successful or not.
Yeah, I agree.
It's how are you going to show up, how learning based, and like the minute you think you have things figured out, no you don't. And if you have an ego, it will cost you every time.
Yeah.
And so just keep your ego out of the way, lean in and learn, and be willing and open to learn things all the time.
Yeah.
And that's why I think this group, you know, and I was like, I want to do this because I saw somebody else doing this. I was like, there's so much to bring to the table. And then I was like, who is super learning based and is always looking to improve themselves? And I will say, Cindy, you're still in a very male dominated industry.
I am.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes, ma'am.
There's not exactly like, and we're fortunate to have you because I'm like, I think like maybe 2 other female loan officers.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
They don't last very long. You have to have, I mean, I've been lucky too. And I have friends like Lou and Kevin that I've known forever. And so I've had that friendship that kind of helped pull me along. But it is hard. It is hard.
Yeah.
And there are 3 or 4 really amazing female loan officers, and I respect them. A couple work with us, but then a couple have really made successful careers with even banks. So, and with Supreme, I have a lot of friends with Supreme. So,
But yeah, there's just not a plethora. That's just not.
no,
It's not as common.
it is not.
Yeah. And so you had to like. I mean, you're talking about in college like that, but you plowed your own way through an entire ecosystem that is set up for you to succeed.
Right.
And it is about relationships and who you affiliated yourself with, but Come on, Cindy, you got a whole lot of grit in there.
Yeah.
You just have to learn to pivot. People, I'm sure you don't know, but my maiden name is Wildman. Wildman.
Oh, that's your best.
Yes, Wildman.
That's interesting.
Cynthia Ann Wildman.
Yeah. Well, there you go.
Cynthia Ann Wildman. Now, and if you can deal with that in the 70s
Yeah.
at college,
Mm-hmm.
and it was really great. Timing was everything. I grew up really poor on a farm. I would not change it in the Amish community of all. Do I look like I'm anybody that's been exposed to Amish community? I love makeup. I love jewelry. But, you know, that which I truly believe, if it doesn't break you, it's going to make you stronger. And that was, I think that's still happening today in my careers.
Yeah.
But I tell everybody, I just turned 70. And so now I kind of get to coast a little bit, because every day I can wake up and go, do I feel like doing this again, or am I moving to Florida?
Yes. Oh, yes.
Where all other 70-year-old women go.
Well, that's kind of the cool thing too, is each of us are in a little bit different phase of life, because your daughters are how old?
22 and 20.
And we have one in the room. I know that they can't see, but my husband is the one reporting behind the scenes. And then your daughter's here, and she's got her license, and so she's following your footsteps in. And then
I have a 40-year-old and a 43-year-old. My son is the father of my grandbaby.
Yep.
And my daughter Emily is now the CEO of her company. So, yeah. She can sing every verse of Helen Reddy's I Am Woman.
It is, and she does a lot of that too.
And yes.
Yeah.
She's a very powerful, my husband's 6'5". And so my daughter is very tall, very blonde, very, very, very determined. Yeah.
Like a mama.
Yeah.
She puts me to shame, but that's all right. I'm going to bask in the glow of her successes too.
Yeah. And then I've got a 21-year-old, because I had Alyssa when I was 20. And so yeah, everybody can do the math on that one. And then you've got 3. So
so 3 teenagers. I've got a 13-year-old going into 8th grade, a girl, almost 16, rising junior, and 17, rising senior.
Yeah, so you're still doing the taxi service. So busy and expensive.
So true.
Yes, I got a competitive golfer, a cheerleader, and a soccer player that does travel ball. So,
so it's not hectic at all for you.
Not at all.
Yeah, and then the only thing is, like, with that, I wanted to, with our first episode, is like each of us come with us a different perspective of like what our goals are, like what we're each working on. And so sharing that, because it impacts our future financially, like retirement, like no matter what we're doing, the legacy that we're all leaving. So what is your goals right now? What are you working towards?
That's a good question. So I'm still keeping the team, so still doing listings and working with buyers, eventually passing it off to Olivia. And right now just really focusing in on the coaching side, so creating that coaching business so that I can coach anywhere. I mean, that's my big thing right now is wanting to have a schedule that's consistent, but if I decide I want to coach at the beach for the week, I can. And so that's really where I'm focused right now, is just starting that side of the business and letting it go and flourish at the same time of passing off real estate to her. So.
Well, I'm a little different in just because of economic times, where I thought I'd had everything wrapped up for retirement. 2 things. One, I've decided I cannot sit home with my husband every day. I live not in an over 55 community, but the lawn's paid for. It's a new subdivision, and a lot of older people have moved in there. And after sitting and watching that, or not sitting, going to work and watching the dynamics there, and they're worrying about who didn't cut the shrubs and stuff. And I'm going, oh no, this is not me. And I would probably take hostages with all those people complaining. You know, I just want to tell them, go volunteer.
Right, do something.
Really, there is so, I mean, yes. So I don't know that I'm going to be able to do that. But we do want to travel, and we haven't traveled just because of what I do for a living. I too can work from almost anywhere, but it's still work. So we're trying to figure out a plan, and I think our first trip is going to be, other than the fact that we adore Amelia Island and that's our getaway, so don't come looking for me there.
Okay, I won't, I promise.
But I think we're going to go to Portugal.
Oh, yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, that'll be nice.
Yeah, so.
Good. What about you?
So me personally is, I love when everybody asks me this question, because everybody's like, well, what are you going to do next?
Yeah.
No, honestly, Seth has been working on investing side. My passion is Keller Williams South Forsyth, and that consulting side, it's almost like the coaching side, and making sure, like, building that up to a point. Seth and I would eventually like to have a second home in Italy, that we could spend at least a month a year there, but that I have the infrastructure here to make that possible. And because, you know, you say home is where your heart is, the coolest thing about this, and I don't know, you know, who else, like, y'all get to do this with your teams, you get to do this with the agents, deciding who you want to work with and stuff, but I get to decide literally who I spend all of my time with. And that is a hard thing to replicate, is like being the architect of literally your world and who you want to go and spend time with. And it's not that every day is perfect, but I am never grumpy to come to quote unquote work, because it's not work. What this is getting to impact people and be part of their journeys, and that creates mine. And then that hits my goals with my family and what we want to do. Yeah. But we're Disney fanatics, so if you know what Club 33 is, that's on the bucket list as well.
I don't know what that is. What is that?
It's a private club within Disney.
Okay.
And there's an application process. You have to be invited. And there is quite a wait list, and it is difficult to get into.
Wow.
And there are private little, like, if you've been to Disney enough, there's any other Disney people, like when you go to the Hollywood Diner, the Brown Derby in Hollywood Studios, there's an elevator right by the bathrooms by the back, and like there's a Club 33 elevator, and so you have to have a secret code to get in there, and then there's like all this cool stuff. I'm convinced that, you know, champagne pops, it flies out.
It's gotta be something.
It's gotta be amazing, right? I mean, like, cause hello, otherwise, but it's, you know, quite expensive to join, initiation fee, and then there's all this other stuff. So, but it's really, anyway. So we'll stop talking about that. It's a goal, and I don't even have an application in, so I feel like it's a distant goal. But if anybody knows how to get me in as a guest, I'm all in. Yeah, my friend was like, oh yeah, we've been, and I was like, I literally hate you right now. How did you get in? You got to get me in. And she's like, oh, well, that person doesn't have access anymore. I'm like, oh shoot, that's not fair. Why you got to tell me that you've been there before? So yeah. What about you?
I've learned in life that that goals can change, and to accept the fact that goals are different in every season of life. And I know there's a lot of people that don't like change, or that view change as instability, or, you know, if you know Joe and I, we've moved a lot, we've flipped homes, like, so change is just part of our lives, and I've learned to kind of embrace it. I don't love it as much the older I get, because I do like, you know, my things and my routine most of all. Ultimate goals, we would love to live in Hilton Head. We love the island. It feels like home. Joseph and JoJo were actually just there the other day on their father-son golf trip, playing golf, and even Josiah, he talks about how that feels like home to him, because he's been there.
Josiah is JoJo for
JoJo,
all. Yeah,
sorry, yes, Josiah, JoJo, my son.
Yeah, I was like, you're using those interchangeably.
Yes. Sorry. And so he, and so ultimately a home there, and then either splitting our time at the beginning and then eventually. But I think it'll all also change depending on my kids and where they land and things like that. So very, subjective. But as far as goals, like we want to be at a point in life where we get to wake up and say what we, like if we want to do this or not, if we want to have the passive income to support our lifestyle, at least within the next 10 years. And so we've done a lot to really fast forward that, like selling our farm and things like that, just to do that. And so we're hard money lending, we're doing owner financing, we're flipping homes and other things. And so Joe's really focused on growing that side of the business right now. So that's a big goal, is to grow that side of the business. We have a partner in that, and so him and Joe have always just kind of ran it on their own. And so we want to have an actual team that also runs that, because you partner with people to go where you want to get to faster. That's what we've learned. And so right now my goal is to continue to build our real estate team. And I don't think it's a number thing anymore. I think it's just helping my people live the lifestyle they want to live, and us being a family together and being able to be successful together, where they're able to invest with us. We've got a couple of agents that have invested with us, and things like that, just from the options that we give them. And so at the moment, it's just continuing to be there for my people and get my kids through college if they want to go to college. And so I think my goals are very small yet big. It's just making an impact on the people in my life. And so however that looks like, I think right now, kind of those are my goals. And I do love to coach, and eventually I do have a small team that I'm coaching right now, and then I coach all my agents one-on-one. But I would love to life coach or mindset coach or something in that effect, to open up myself to people that maybe aren't in real estate. I'm big on mindset, so you'll learn that. I feel like you can change your world with simply practicing gratitude every day. And so yeah, so it's just kind of one of those. I know it's not anything crazy, but at the moment it's a great goal. I'm kind of working for.
That's great. Yeah.
So,
all right, well, that was it. That was 45 minutes, guys, and that was perfect. We chit-chatted.
Already?
Already. See, I told you this wouldn't be hard.
That wasn't bad at all.
No.
No, that's not bad.
We're done.
Easy.
Cut it.